Let's see where the IPO market is heading. Our next guest has serious expertise in this department. Lise Buyer worked at T. Rowe Price and was the internal IPO coordinator for Google. She is now the founding principal of the Class V Group, which advises companies that are considering going public. Liz, welcome back to Bloomberg West. Always great to have you here.
Always nice to be here.
So 13 IPOs pulled or withdrawn in 1 week. How does that strike you?
It strikes me as 1 week's worth of data, but not a trend. First of all, we're in the back half of August. That's always a dicey time for companies to go.
But this is the most in 1 week since 2000, dot-com bubble days.
There's definitely a correlation between volatility of markets and number of IPOs that get done in any week, and we could say this was a somewhat volatile week, so it makes perfect sense. Whether they've pulled their deals from now until who knows, or whether we're going to see them again in 3 weeks, we don't know yet.
So there are some who are saying the IPO window isn't just closing, it just slammed shut. I assume you don't agree with that.
I think it's nonsense. First of all, the concept of an IPO window gets a lot of hype that isn't backed up by the data. Yes, in 2008 and 9, in a global economic crisis, it is difficult to take a new issue out. But generally speaking, a good, solid company can go pretty much whenever, again, except extraordinary circumstances. It's a matter of what price they're willing to go at.
That said, we have been through a very volatile week of ups and downs. What are you telling the companies that you advise to think about? Are they asking themselves some tough questions right now?
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate because I have no one who was trying to price this week. It would have been a different issue. But companies that are looking to go in the fourth quarter, the answer is keep your head down and keep going. We don't have to make a final decision till we get there. So let's assume that markets are relatively rational, and let's keep pulling ahead and see.
What about pricing? Are they going to have to reconsider how they do that?
You know, one of the things that happens when you have a volatile market like this is you have some of the investors who I'll call the marginal, the fast money investors, and they sit on the sidelines. A second thing that happens is you have a lot of the blue chip stocks that are suddenly on what I like to call blue plate specials. So some money will go there instead of into IPOs. If there's less demand for IPOs, Economics 101 means the pricing may be a little lower.
What about companies like Groupon and Zynga? What do you imagine is going behind the scenes at those companies? They've already filed to go public, and they're like, oh, goodness, what do we do?
A lot of tequila shots.
Seriously, though, you know, what do you think, you know, how are they evaluating this situation?
I think the only advice anyone can give them is let's wait till we get to the point when you're going to be on the road. August, again, is always dicey. Let's see what happens when we round the corner from Labor Day. Let's see if we get continued mutual fund redemptions or not. Clearly, the market doesn't exactly know where it's going right now. Up 600, down 300, up 400. That's not a trend, which isn't to say that there aren't some very big issues, including in Washington and over in Europe, but it's way too early to say everyone should pull their deal. It's just crazy.
How about a company like Living Social, which Bloomberg News has confirmed is planning to go public in the next 6 months or so? What would you tell a company like that to do?
I would tell them that if they've decided to go, they should push forward, and let's see where we are in 6 months. The market it's impossible to predict, but they understand that the markets are volatile, and they'll understand. I would ask them to understand why they're going. There are all kinds of different reasons why companies go beside just putting money in the bank. Be sure of what your intent is, and then you'll know what to do when you get to the market.
But should they be making any kind of adjustments?
No, valuations change all over the place, as we've seen this week on a dime.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about the secondary markets. How do you imagine this is impacting activity on the second markets?
So I have no data on that, so this is pure speculation on my part. But I think one of the things we've seen both in the secondary markets and in the public markets is wild investor enthusiasm for the consumer brand names. And I think maybe this will help temper some of that and, again, cause investors to try to correlate price with underlying fundamentals, as unusual as that may be.
But it is scary for companies, right? Because, you know, you have companies like LinkedIn and Pandora, which were very highly anticipated, and at the end of this week, they're way off where they were.
Well, they're way off their highs. The question is, did they ever belong at those prices anyway? Or, I mean, there gets to be so much enthusiasm in the IPO market that this is a painful way for people to be reminded that there's no sure thing. And don't invest in an IPO for what it's going to do in the first week. Make the investment for what it's going to do if you believe in the business over the next year or two.
So do you expect anything to change over the next few weeks? Are we going to see more IPOs being withdrawn? Are we going to see things stabilize?
I would think things will probably still be pretty rugged till the end of August, till the end of the month. wish I could predict exactly what happens in September, but I don't know. Let's see what happens in Italy. Let's see. I think there's such big macro issues.
Will things pick back up in September?
I think they will. Historically, they certainly have.
Why? So why September? Just
part of it, frankly, is human nature. There's an awful lot of people on Wall Street who view the back half of August as time to just put on the brakes and go away for 2 weeks. And I think there's, we're all still, let's go back to school. And I just think you get a different focus once we round Labor Day's corner.
Come back from vacation, get right back to it. All right, Lise Buyer of the Class V Group, always great to have your thoughts here on Bloomberg West. We'll be watching that IPO market.